Have you ever eaten a snake? Have you ever been to Timbuktu or Kathmandu? Have you ever studied the present perfect? Well, you're in luck because we will be answering these and other important questions, this time on Grammar Gurus. I'm Rama, and this is Grammar Gurus. Today, we'll be looking at the present perfect. We'll look at the form of the present perfect. We'll look at when and why we use the present perfect. And we'll look at some example sentences. When and why we use the present perfect can be a little bit tricky. So let's look first at the form of the present perfect. To form the present perfect, we use a subject plus the helper verb have or has plus the past participle, sometimes called verb 3. We use have with I, we, you, and they, and we use has with she, he, and it. If you've ever tried to memorize, remember, the verb forms in English, the past participle is the third form that you say. That's why it's sometimes called verb 3. For example, go, went, gone. Gone is the past participle. Fly, flew, flown. Flown is the past participle. Eat, ate, eaten. Eaten is the past participle. Now, sometimes the second and the third form of the verbs are the same, the past and the past participle. For example, in the verb play, play, played, played. Or in the verb make, made, made. You see there that the second and the third verb form are the same. Now, sometimes all three forms are the same. For example, with the verb hit, 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 hit. Or the verb put, 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 put. And sometimes the first and the third verb form are the same. So the present and the past participle are the same. For example, with the verb run, run, ran, run. There's no real easy way or special technique to memorize or to remember the forms of all these verbs when the first and the third are the same or when they're all different. You really just have to memorize them, to remember them. Okay, let's look at some examples to help show the form of the present perfect. I have eaten breakfast already. Okay, so where is the subject, the who or what, that does the action in this sentence? I. What is the main action verb, the main action word in this sentence? Eaten. And are there any other verbs that help to make this sentence the present perfect? Any helping verbs? Yes, have. So we have the subject, I, the helper verb, have, and the main verb, eaten. Let's look at our next example. Godzilla has attacked the city 5 times. Okay, so where is the subject, the who or what, that does the action in this sentence? Yes, of course, Godzilla. What's the main action verb, the main action word in the sentence? Attacked. And are there any other verbs that help make this sentence the present perfect? Has. Why is it has in this sentence? Well, because Godzilla is an it. And with she, he, and it, we use has as the helper verb and not have. So, Godzilla has, it has attacked the city 5 times. Let's look at our next sentence. She has ridden an elephant before. Well, now the subject is she. The helper verb has, once again, because we use has with she, he, and it. She has. The main verb ridden. She has ridden an elephant before. I should mention here that the helper verb have in the present perfect is not like the main verb have in the present simple. In the present simple sentence, I have two brothers, have is the main verb and has meaning. It shows that the brothers are yours or belong to you. They're your brothers. But if you look at have in the present perfect sentence, I have eaten breakfast. Here, the have doesn't really have any meaning. It's just a helper verb that's put there to help make the present perfect. The verb that has the meaning is the main verb, eaten. Have is just there to help make the tense. Now let's look at contractions for a minute. Now in the present perfect, we often use contractions. So, what is a contraction? A contraction is when you take two words and you put them together to make one word. Now let's look at our example sentences and make some contractions. I have eaten breakfast already. Now we can take the I, the subject, and we can take the have, the helper verb, and merge them together to make I've eaten breakfast already. Let's look at our next example sentence. Godzilla has attacked the city 5 times. Okay, so here we can take the subject Godzilla and the helper verb has, and we can mix them together to make Godzilla's attacked the city 5 times. It can also be a little bit tricky to hear has in this sentence because now it's just an S sound at the end of Godzilla. Godzilla's attacked the city 5 times. So it can be a bit tricky, but you just have to listen and pay attention to hear that sound and know that that's the verb has that's now made a contraction with Godzilla. Let's look at our third sentence. She has ridden an elephant before. Now we can take she and has and mix them together to make she's. She's ridden an elephant before. Now once again, that one can be a little bit difficult to hear, but there's an S at the end and has merged with she. She's ridden an elephant before. Okay, so now let's talk about when and why we use the present perfect. We use the present perfect to talk about a completed action, a finished action that happened at an unspecified time, meaning that we aren't saying when exactly the action was completed. In a moment of time that includes now. Okay, so I know that sounds a little bit difficult, but really it's not that difficult to understand once we look at some examples and look at a chart. Just give me a moment. Well, first let's ask the question, how long is a moment? How long is the present moment, this moment? Well, when we use the present perfect, we can make this moment however long we want. We can think about this moment as being the time it's taken to watch this video, this morning, or we can expand it even further. By using the present perfect, we can expand this moment starting from now and going back to any point in time that we choose and call that present. And then we can talk about something that happened or hasn't happened in that moment. Okay, now we should mention that when we use the present perfect, we can't talk about a specific time in the past. We can't say yesterday, 5 hours ago, 2 years ago, last month, because then we're pointing to and talking about the past, and we have to use the past simple. Okay, now it's time for some examples. I have eaten breakfast. Okay, so what's the present moment in this sentence? What's the chunk of time that we're talking about? Well, we're talking about this morning, because breakfast is eaten in the morning. So we're taking this morning and we're calling that the present moment, and we're talking about something, eating, something that happened in that moment. Now, we're not saying exactly when it happened. We're not saying, I have eaten breakfast 2 hours ago, because we can't use that with the present perfect. If we're saying the exact time that it happened, that's the past. It happened in the past. It doesn't include the present. It's not the present moment, and we can't use the present perfect. I have paid the rent already. Okay, so in this sentence, what is the present moment? What is the chunk of time that we're talking about? We're talking about this month, because rent is normally paid monthly. So we're taking this month, we're calling it present, and we're talking about something that I've done in this month. I've seen the new Spider-Man movie. Okay, so now what is the amount of time? What is the present moment in this sentence? Well, it's from the time that the movie opened in the theaters up until now. We're taking that time and we're calling it present. And I'm saying that within that time, I have seen the Spider-Man movie. Now, I don't say exactly when, just that in this amount of time, up until now, I've seen the movie. I've been to Thailand 7 times since 2001. Okay, so here I'm talking about a space of time from 2001 until now as the present moment, and talking about what I have done in that chunk of time. I have eaten snake. What is the moment in this sentence? What is the amount of time? My whole life. I'm talking about this life. So I've made my whole life into one moment, one chunk of time, and I'm talking about something that I have done in this life. Okay, now let's look at examples of the use of present perfect talking about your whole life as the present moment. So our example sentence was, I have eaten snake. Let's make a yes-no question with this example sentence. To make a yes-no question, we take the helper verb have and we move it to the front. And it becomes, have you eaten snake? Now, often when talking about your whole life, we like to add the word ever. Have you ever eaten snake? You don't need to say it, but normally we do when asking about your whole life. Have you ever eaten snake? Now, to answer this, you can answer with yes or no. If you answer with yes, you can say yes plus the subject, I, plus the helper verb, have. Yes, I have. If we answer with no, we use no plus the subject, plus the helper verb, have, and then we also add not. No, I have not. Now we can take the have and the not and make a contraction. Haven't. So we can say, no, I haven't. If we want to ask a more information question, we can ask, for example, when have you eaten snake? I've eaten snake 3 or 4 times in the last year. So now if you want to make this a negative, we just take never and we add never into the sentence, and it becomes, I have never eaten snake. When you say never, you mean that in your whole life, you haven't done this. You have never done this. So, I have eaten snake, to make it negative, becomes I have never eaten snake. Okay, let's look at our next sentence. I have been to Thailand 7 times since 2001. Now, when we're using the present perfect, we often use since and for. Since is when we want to talk about at what time did this moment, this chunk of time start. And for, we use for to talk about how long this chunk of time, this moment is. So in our sentence, I have been to Thailand 7 times since 2001. We're using since to talk about when the amount of time started, since 2001. Now, to make a yes-no question, we'll take the helper verb have and move it to the front. And then we'll drop the 7 times, because we don't know, we're asking a question. And it becomes, have you been to Thailand since 2001? Now, to answer this yes-no question, we can answer yes or no. If we answer yes, we say, yes, I have. And if we answer with no, we say, no, I have not, or no, I haven't. If you want to ask a more information question with this sentence, you could ask, why have you been to Thailand since 2001? Well, I've been to Thailand because I really like Thailand. It's a beautiful country. Now, to make a negative of this sentence, let's go ahead and take off the 7 times because it's no longer true, and we'll add not after the helper verb have, so the sentence becomes, I have not been to Thailand since 2001. And we should also look at for just briefly. Now, when we use for, we talk about how long the moment, how long the amount of time we're talking about is. For example, I have taught English for 10 years. So after for, we'll be giving an amount of time. For 10 years, for 5 months, for an hour, for 15 minutes. We'll be giving an amount of time after for. Okay, so we need to talk about yet and already. Because when we use the present perfect, we often use yet and already. Already is used to answer a question and to emphasize, to show more clearly that an action has been completed. For example, in the sentence, she has paid the rent already. Yet is used with things that we expect. If we ask a question with yet, we are asking about whether an action that we expect to be completed soon has been completed or not. Okay, so let's make a question, a yes-no question out of this example sentence. Now, we don't use already with questions, but we can use yet when making questions in the present perfect. So the question is, has she paid the rent yet? Now, the yet shows that we expect her to pay the rent, and we want to know if she has paid it or not. Now, we can answer this question with yes, she has paid the rent already. Or no, she hasn't paid the rent yet. So in that answer, she hasn't paid yet, but we expect her to pay sometime soon. We use yet in the negative to talk about something that hasn't happened, but that we expect to happen soon. Let's look at some other examples of yet used in negative present perfect sentences. The rain hasn't stopped yet. My friend hasn't arrived yet. So in this case, we're expecting the rain to stop, but it hasn't stopped yet. And we're expecting our friend to arrive, but he or she hasn't arrived yet. Let's look at one more example sentence. He has seen the new Spider-Man movie. Has he seen the new Spider-Man movie yet? Yes, he's seen the new Spider-Man movie already. No, he hasn't seen the new Spider-Man movie yet. All right, now let's look at how we make questions using who and what. We use who for questions about people, and we use what for questions about things that are not people. Let's look at our first example. Godzilla has attacked the city 5 times. So if we want to make this a question, it's very easy. All we have to do is take out the subject and replace it with who or what. Now the subject in this case is Godzilla. So what do we replace it with? Do we replace it with who or what? Well, Godzilla is not a person, so we'll replace it with what? What has attacked the city 5 times? Godzilla has attacked the city 5 times. All right, let's look at another one. She has ridden an elephant before. Well, okay, let's take the subject. Who's the subject in this sentence? She. And we'll replace it with who or what. What do we use? Who or what? Who, of course, because she is a person. So the sentence becomes, who has ridden an elephant before? And now it's a question. As easy as that. We just replace the subject with a who or what, and it becomes a question. Okay, now it's time for the tough stuff. Let's talk about how we use ever in the present perfect. Now, I said before that we use ever when asking questions about your whole life in the present perfect. And that's true, but we can also use ever in negative sentences. We can use ever in a negative sentence if the sentence has a negative or if the subject is a negative, like nothing, no one, nobody. For example, nothing good has ever happened to me. Nothing good has ever happened to me. Well, it's not true, but nothing, because the subject is negative, nothing. We can't use never again. That's called a double negative. So nothing good has ever happened to me. Let's look at another example. I haven't ever eaten snake. Now in this sentence, we have a negative not. I have not ever eaten snake. And because we already have a negative, we can't use never, which is another negative. That would be a double negative. So we say, I haven't ever eaten snake. Now that's just another way of saying I have never eaten snake. They both mean the same thing, they're just 2 different ways of saying it. Now we can't use ever in a positive sentence. For example, we don't say, I have ever eaten snake. In that case, we just say, I have eaten snake. Well, that's it for this episode of Grammar Gurus. I hope that you now understand more when and why the present perfect is used and have a better idea of how to form the present perfect. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed our present perfect video. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you would like to support our channel and help us make more videos, please check out our Patreon page. As always, if you have any questions about English or grammar, just leave them in the comments section below. And thanks for watching. See you next time.